Is it too early to fire Brian Callahan? What do the Titans gain by waiting to fire Brian Callahan? Who would take over if the Titans did make the decision to let Brian Callahan go? We're going to get into all that today on a very weird edition of the Music City Audible. Let's get to it.
I love the way our team works, the way they prepare. We just got to play. We got to play better on Sundays. We have to coach better on Sundays.
Oof. Gotta play better, gotta coach better, Justin. Where have I heard that one before? That is the stage. That is the stage we have reached with the Brian Callahan discourse. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Music City Audible podcast presented by Sinkers Beverages, the premier wine, spirits, and beer store in East Nashville, in partnership with 440 Sports. I'm Justin Graver. With me, as always, Justin Melo. Justin, we usually like to take Monday episodes to sort of do a more in-depth look, a more nuanced, level-headed analysis of the most recent game. That's sort of been the plan for these Monday shows. But what's the point? I mean, what's the point? At this rate, we have bigger things to talk about. And the number one biggest thing we have to talk about is, have we reached the point already, 3 games into his second season, is it time for the Titans to fire Brian Callahan?
Well, you didn't ask, but I'm doing well. Think I'm better than Brian
No,
Callahan.
I skipped it. I got right into the thing. Yes, you are probably doing better. We're all doing a little better than Brian Callahan. Although we're all doing poorly because of Brian Callahan as Titans fans.
Yes, mental health is suffering. I do think it's time. I believe that's the question you asked. I've already forgotten, but yeah, I do think it's time for them to fire Brian Callahan. Now, obviously, they don't agree yet because they didn't do it on Monday. He spoke to the media on Monday, which strongly indicates he will be coaching against the Houston Texans in Week 4. We've honestly reached the point, though, where I think this is probably a week-by-week thing. Like, I'm not comfortable guaranteeing anything beyond that, right? Like, he's going to coach the Texans against Texans in Week 4. We'll see from there on out. Now, I'm not surprised they didn't make this decision yet, in all honesty, right? Like, they wanted continuity. They wanted to give him a fair chance this year. No one's ever been fired after Week 3. I think I saw that on Twitter, if I believe, right? Like, I think Week 5, Robert Saleh last year was Week 5. And that was
2 coaches fired after Week 4 in the NFL history since the NFL became the NFL in the modern NFL. Now, there was a coach fired in 1921 earlier than Week 4. But I don't think that is very relevant. Was he fired?
He went off to war. He might have been drafted. That's how long ago that was.
He was actually a player coach who was relieved of the coaching duties at halftime of the game, but allowed to continue with his player duties. So
Titans could have done that twice with Brian Callahan at halftime after 2 of the near half sequences that he's had in weeks 1 and 3. But so again, like historically speaking, when you look at it, I'm not surprised they haven't made the decision yet. I think, like, I'll be honest, as an outsider, I think Bob Saleh, as I like to call him, got fired after Week 5 last year.
And it felt really early.
Yeah, like as a non-Jets fan, I remember going, ooh, that's early, right? And here we are, calling for Callahan after Week 3.
But the big difference in that situation was they had coached Aaron Rodgers for 5 games. They had Aaron Rodgers for the whole previous season, but he tore his Achilles on the 3rd play of his Jets career. So that was premature because it was like, you're supposed to give this Rodgers thing a little time to figure out. We have given Brian Callahan 20 games. Now, I will say, on the other side of that, it's only 3 games with Cam Ward, which is similar to only 5 games with Aaron Rodgers.
But it's when it's a rookie, right? It's a rookie and not a 20-year veteran.
Yes, no doubt. But when the whole entire operation feels like it gets worse every week. And on that note, the offense has gotten better every week, at least in terms of points that they've scored. They scored 12 points against Denver, 19 against LA, and 20 against Indy. So, like, objectively, the number of total points scored has gone up every game. But the entire, like, operation of the team looks the same every week as it has since Week 1 of last year. In fact, Justin, this is how we're going to get into this conversation. How bad has Brian Callahan been? Are the 2025 Titans better or worse than the 2024 Titans? I mean, both teams started 0-3, but the 2024 Titans had a net point differential of -30 They lost their first 2 games by 7 points each, and then they lost week 3 last year to Green Bay by 14 or 16 or something like that. Yeah, 16, which gives them a minus 30. This year's Titans are at minus 43, and each defeat has gotten bigger in deficit. The first game they lose by 8. Second game they lose by 14. The third game they lose by 21. I mean, that's too many points. We're trending the wrong direction. And this is why I don't think it's too early to fire Brian Callahan.
I don't think it is either. Just saying. I don't think it is either.
Because this gets to my question at the very top of the show in the intro tease. What is the benefit of keeping him at this point? You mentioned continuity. But what continuity for what? Like, we have reached a point where I am 100% certain that Brian Callahan will not be the head coach in 2026. And I don't think that's premature to say. I know there's a lot of season left. But the only benefit to keeping him is if you really want the number 1 pick 2 years in a row, and you simply believe that another head coach or an interim head coach is going to do a little better job and potentially jeopardize that, which is an insane way to operate in week 4 of an NFL season.
And that conversation is so stupid to me. Like, yeah, they're like, when I already have a quarterback that I took number 1 overall, to be honest with you, my interest in tanking is pretty low, right? Like, sure, but we might, especially now, week 3, week 4, we get to week 12, you and I are probably going to be like, they might as well lose this game to protect draft positioning. But talking about tanking in week 3 when you already have your quarterback, like, that's insanity. Sure, they could trade the pick, blah, blah, blah. Don't talk about tanking in week 3 when you have a quarterback. When you need a quarterback, I get it. It's never too early to talk about tanking. New Orleans Saints should probably be tanking. They need to draft a quarterback, number 1. Titans have their quarterback, right? Like, tanking is an outrageous discussion at this point in the calendar when you've got your quarterback. What I keep coming back to regarding Brian Callahan is, and why I don't think it's too early to fire him, is why I have no reason to believe, say he got another 20 games, why would we think they're going to look different than the first 20 have looked, right? Like, Nick Suss wrote a great article on the Tennessee, and you brought up, I think, a portion of it there. It's where I think the point differential comes from. Last year, they were outgained through week 3 by not many yards, right? Just a couple, essentially. Thus far, they've been outgained by 455. Like, the point differential is worse. The yard differential is worse. He's still making in-game clock management mistakes. He's making more of those this year than he made last year, actually, right? Like, I don't remember anything as egregious last year that happened in week 1 this year and week 3, certainly yesterday with the whole field goal debacle near halftime. I said it on the live stream yesterday, Sunday after the game. I'll say it again. Like, it reminds me of Nathaniel Hackett and the Denver Broncos when it's just like, this guy's way in over his head. He's not cut out for this role, and it's simply not working. So, no, it's not too early to fire Brian Callahan. I see no real continuity for Cam Ward. I mean, I don't know that it's good continuity for Cam Ward, and I mean that in shrinking it to just Cam Ward, because certainly you can't even make the argument that it's good for the continuity of the team. It's certainly not. You can maybe make the argument for Cam Ward's sake. It's a little easier is what I'm trying to say to make that argument. But I still don't think it's probably a good thing. Like, I mean, I'm ranting, but I tweeted out a stat that I want to quickly mention in passing. Like, next gen stats, time to throw. Fastest release time on Sunday, Carson Wentz, backup quarterback for the Vikings, 2.43 seconds. Guess what? He's got a good offensive-minded head coach in Kevin O'Connell who knows his backup quarterback needs quick answers to get the ball out. Second fastest time, Baker Mayfield, 1/10 of a second slower or whatever, 2.44, okay? 3 backup O-linemen in that game. He got sacked once. You know why? They gave him answers to get the ball out. The Titans I know they were down 2 linemen yesterday, but let's be honest. Our expectation, when they're down to 1 lineman, we're like, he's going to get sacked 5 times. Like, we already know that. Baker Mayfield was down 3 linemen and got sacked once against a team that has a defensive tackle just as good as a Jeffrey Simmons, for example, and an edge rusher better than anyone on the Titans in Will McDonald, who's a double-digit sack guy. Cam Ward, 7th slowest to get rid of the ball. Some of that's on him, receiver play. You can combine it. But watch the tape. There are never easy, identifiable answers to go with the ball on most plays that he is stacked. It's just there are just so many debacles we can get into regarding Brian Callahan.
I think that brings up a tweet I saw on Twitter circulating yesterday. Shout out to Ryan Flory at Ryan Flory6 for tweeting this. It's infuriating to watch coaches like Shanahan and McVay plug literally whoever into their offenses and still score points.
Mac Jones is 2-0. Mac Jones is 2-0.
While the Titans, for the past 15 years, are like, well, our tackle or this guy is out. Guess we'll just suck today. And that's exactly what you're saying. Like
Marcus Mariota put up 41 with the Commanders. Bunch of backup quarterbacks. Carson Wentz won 48-3 or whatever it was.
I mean, Mariota did have a Jalen Lane punt return touchdown in there, and Carson Wentz did have an Isaiah Rodgers return two Isaiah Rodgers return touchdowns in there. But point taken, they still scored more than 20, which the Titans only got to yesterday. Justin, let's do some trivia. First off, I can't pose this one to you as a trivia question because I told you right before the show, but for the sake of our audience playing along, how many teams do you think have lost every game this season by at least 7 points? 1, the Tennessee Titans. Justin, where do you think the Titans rank in terms of total point differential so far this season?
Is it last?
It's last. The Cincinnati Bengals lost a game 48-10 yesterday, and they have a point differential of minus 33. The New Orleans Saints lost the football game 33-14 yesterday. They have the same point differential as the Titans, minus 43, last in the NFL. Where do you think the Titans rank in terms of total yards per game on offense?
Is it last?
Second to last.
Ooh.
They are 1.6 yards better than the last place team, which is the Cincinnati Bengals, who fumbled the ball like 15 times yesterday.
And had a backup quarterback in for week.
And had a backup quarterback playing. Tennessee Titans, second to last, 222.3 yards per game. Justin, where do you think the Titans rank in points scored per game?
Is that last?
It's not last.
No.
This is the best they've been in any stat that I brought up.
Bottom 5, though. Bottom 5.
Fourth to last.
Yeah,
Fifth to last. Bottom 5, 17.0 points per game. The only teams worse, the Saints, here talking about tanking for a quarterback. The Browns, who have a great defense but a putrid offense. The Falcons, who put up 0 yesterday, so that'll do that. And surprisingly, the lowest scoring team in the NFL right now, the Houston Texans, 12.7 points per game.
Wow.
Pretty remarkable. So, I mean, I could keep going. We could do passing yards. What do you think the Titans rank in passing yards? Second to last. Rushing yards. What do you think the Titans rank in rushing yards? Sixth to last. This is an offensive-minded head coach. And to your point that, Kevin O'Connell can get Carson Wentz in the lineup and the team puts up 48. And now that was a full team effort. We mentioned, they scored on defense. They scored on special teams. That's a full team effort, of course. But the fact is, they did that. The Commanders, Marcus Mariota comes in, backup quarterback, 41 points they score in that game. So when your head coach is an offensive-minded, offensive coordinator, head coach guy, you expect him to bring something to the table there. The defense could be putrid. There could be clock management, game situation management issues. We'd put up with some of that stuff if there was one redeeming quality, like the offense being good. But the offense has never been good under Callahan. Seems like the players don't know their assignments. He's talking in his press conference today about how, there's too many times where we don't have we have a illegal motion or we're not lined up right and blah, blah, blah. You're not coaching the details well enough. If they're not executing this much, if this much of it is poor execution 20 games in, I'm not putting it on the players anymore. I'm putting it on the coach to get his players up to speed. You heard the Tom Brady rant on, was it Cowherd last week or 2 weeks ago? We were talking about how quarterbacks need to be supported. And if they're not supported, if they're not taught all these things, that goes for the whole offense. Everyone needs to be coached with details in mind, with why you're doing what you're doing. It feels like these players don't know. Anyway, I'm ranting now too. I want to get to something else that is just pisses me off when I listen back to it. So I'm going to play another answer. This is from yesterday's press conference. The one I played at the top of the show was from Monday. But from the postgame presser on Sunday, the botched debacle, the pre-halftime, right before halftime debacle the Titans had, where they go conservative, they run the ball with Tony Pollard over and over again. They get stopped outside of the 40-yard line with 40 seconds to go, and they elect to kick the field goal. Brian Callahan was asked multiple questions, pressed on this point. Shout out to PK and Tehran for doing a great job at the podium, getting Callahan to continue answering this. And here, I'm just going to play it. I'm going to pause it. We're going to talk. I'm going to keep playing it. Here is how that answer started.
We were going back and forth and wanted a minute to think about it. I was going back and forth between the 4th down call and the field goal, and decided to go take points in that particular situation. And the operational part of it to kick it on time didn't happen.
Yeah, the operational part didn't happen. We know that. Kicking it on time didn't happen. But why are you going back and forth? Why are you going back and forth deciding whether or not to take the points or go for it? You should have a plan. When you call that 3rd and 1 run, you should already know what the next play is. Are we going for it if we don't get it? I got 2 play calls in the huddle, or are we not going for it if I don't get it?
And on top of it, it's not like it's a unique situation. I would argue before you even take possession of that ball, you're already kind of thinking, if I get into a 4th and short and I'm in field goal range, what am I doing? Because that's very well within the realm of possibility.
And that's like the least of the concerns, though, is the decision to go for it or not go for it. Here, sure. Paul continues to ask, how do you not know what you're doing?
That's part of this. Having your offensive personnel on the field after the timeout.
Because I hadn't decided yet at the moment on what we're
What do you mean you hadn't decided yet? Sorry, can we continue this clip?
going to do.
I mean, how could you have their timeout, your timeout, and still not have decided?
Like I said, we were having a couple different conversations about it, and ultimately that was a decision we made.
Yeah, we know that's ultimately, you're not giving us anything here. Brian Callahan has done a great job of like saying words that actually give us some level of an answer. He also does a good job of talking without saying anything, but this isn't an explanation. We are having a lot of conversations about it. Like you shouldn't be like you just said, we shouldn't be having those conversations about it. I want to get to the worst part of the answer though, Justin.
What kind of message though you think that sends? Like not going forward on 4th and not going for it, what message that sends to your team?
I don't know. I don't know what message that sends. I was trying.
You got to know. You're the head coach. Everything you do sends a message. You got to know.
To take points and make it a 17-9 game at the half. That was mine.
Why is that your goal, to make it a 17-9 game at the half, when you have the ball with over 3 minutes left in the half and 60 yards to the end zone and a rookie quarterback that had started to play better in the second quarter, that had started to get into a rhythm? Why is that your goal, to take points and make it 17-9 going into halftime when the other team is getting the ball because you made the bad decision to not defer when you won the kickoff, when you won the coin toss at the beginning of the game?
I don't want to lose sight of what's most important here, because the answer was terrible and I don't know what message it sends, but I don't even care. Like the question that Tehran asked, I don't care about the going forward on 4th versus kicking. I don't care that much. I'm
glad you said that. Let's let him finish this point and then you can continue.
So I don't know. Again, hindsight, it doesn't work. We don't make the field goal. We don't have to kick it off, and we don't get a chance to go for it, so we don't know if we get it or not. And ultimately, if it doesn't work, you're in the same place. And the same conversation applies on the flip side: is that if we go for it and don't get it, then the question is going to be why didn't you try Sly there from that distance? He's been good from there. So it's a hindsight thing. We didn't make the kick, and we don't look good for it. But I thought that was the right thing, was to try to take points in that moment and make it a 1-possession game.
The only thing correct he said there was that they don't look good for it. Now, Justin, you have an issue with him arguing over going forward on 4th down versus deciding to kick the field goal.
Yes, because I'll be blunt. Like, the only thing that I care about there is the question that PK absolutely nailed. After a Colts timeout and after a Titans timeout, how could you not know? Like, you had extra time to know something that you have to know, and you still didn't know it. Like, that's my issue. Like, honestly, maybe I'm too nice, but taking the points there, I always try to put myself in the head of, can I understand this? And yes, to be honest with you, it might not be popular, but I can understand we've got a whole half left. We could make this a 1-possession game. Let's take the points and make it a 1-possession game. I don't think that's crazy. You could disagree with it, but it's not crazy egregious. My problem is the indecisiveness. The operation looks like an amateur operation. It doesn't look like a professional operation. You take the points, you're down 17-9. We got to stop coming out of half. We can go tie the football game with a 2-point conversion. I can understand that. I might not agree with it. You might want them to be aggressive, but that's something we could at least debate, I think. What you can't debate is having 2 timeouts to make a decision and not have a decision. That's where my issue comes in.
I fully agree with you, Justin. I have an issue with both. Once you get down to the 4th and 1 from the 40 whatever yard line, and you have to decide, are we going forward, are we taking the points? I agree with you. I can totally understand the reasoning why you would want to take the points. When you get the ball at your own 40 with 3 minutes left in the half, and you're just deciding we're going to try to gain 15 to 20 yards so we can kick a long field goal to take the points.
Is that what he said? Is that what he said, though? Because, I mean, if they got a first down, of course he wants to score a touchdown.
He didn't have to say that. He ran the ball 6 straight times with Tony Pollard after taking over possession. He didn't have to say it. He did it. So that I have an issue with. Then I have another issue with deciding to take the points with 42 seconds left in the half. If there are 4 seconds left in the half, if you actually have the opportunity, Colts are out of timeouts or whatever, to drain the clock all the way down, and then you want to try a 57-yard field goal that turns into a 62-yard field goal, okay. At the worst case, the Colts aren't taking over possession with great field position. I'll also say, if they went for it and didn't get it, it's not the same thing. You're 17 yards or 8 yards different based on the Colts take over where the kick is kicked from, not where the ball is snapped from. So if you go for it on 4th down, you're taking 8 yards away from the Colts in that situation too. So it's not apples to apples in terms of if you don't get it, it's the same situation as if you miss the kick. But yes, ultimately, the big issue that everyone has with this sequence is the indecisiveness resulting in a delay of game penalty. And the fact that he doesn't get that is massive to me. The fact that he's up there saying hindsight is this and hindsight is that and whatever, like, it's not about hindsight. It's about the fact that you don't have a professional operation. And the fact that you don't know that that's what it's about is damning as anything that happened, as damning as the Michael Pittman quote, as damning as anything. So I'm out. I am fully out. I don't have anything else to say about why I'm out. I feel like we've covered it in the last 20 minutes here. Brian Callahan, it's time for you to move on. And it does suck. I mean, it really does suck at the end of the day. Number one, Brian Callahan seems like a great guy. He seems like a really smart, offensive-minded football guy. I think his problem is he shouldn't be the one making these decisions in the moment. He shouldn't be the one running the team on game day. He should be in a dark room designing offenses for Zach Taylor to go call on game day, right? I mean, he did great in that role for the Bengals. You know what the Peter principle is? The Peter principle is where you keep getting promoted until you reach a point where you are above your actual capabilities. You should have stopped in one of the lower roles, but because you were good at the lower role, you got promoted to a role with more responsibility, and you're not capable of performing that job. And I think that's where we're at with Brian Callahan. He's in over his head. We can hear it in his voice, the way he's answering these questions. He doesn't have answers. Monday's press conference was almost could entirely be boiled down to, I'm not sure why we're not playing better. All I know is that we need to play better and we need to coach better. Like, that was the majority of what he said on Monday. Now, he did say one other interesting thing on Monday, Justin, that I know you want to talk about, which was about, he was asked if he was willing to give up play calling duties and said that they are evaluating everything.
Yeah, I think this is more interesting than it's getting credit for, because he's always talked about, when he's been asked that question before, you know, he's given the coach speak answer, we'll do anything that makes us better, yada, yada. But he's also said, I really enjoy calling plays. I really enjoy that aspect of it. I took Monday's answers a little bit differently. I think it's something that he's strongly considering. And it's something that he should be considering. Like what you just talked about, the Peter principle. When he talks about football, you and I have said this many times, he sounds smart. He sounds like he knows what he's talking about. No doubt. Like he knows offensive football like the back of his head. He knows it. Once the bullets start flying, though, and he's got to wear all the hats, he's got to make the decision. I guarantee you that second half sequence, how does he bumble it? It's because he's got too much going on. He's got to make the decision to go for it or not, but he's also got to call the play. So his offense is out there because he's like, oh, I got to call a play if we're going for it, but he hasn't decided. Like, it's just there's too much. Once the bullets start flying on Sundays and you're in it, it's too much for him. So I found the play calling answer interesting because I think he's seriously considering giving it up. Because I think, if he could give you an honest answer deep down, he's probably starting to realize that maybe I do have too much on my plate. It's clearly not working. And let's also be honest about it. Giving up play calling is kind of it's really the final step in the, oh crap, I'm about to get fired cycle, right? Like you try things when you know you're at the end. And maybe he won't. Like maybe he'll come to the conclusion of, if I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down my way. Because we know he loves calling plays and he's been doing it since the beginning. since he got the job. But I do think there's a chance that he gives it up. I don't want to have this next conversation, this part of the conversation too much, because it's going to bleed into a little about the interim conversation that we're going to have. But if he does give it up, I'm curious who he'd give it up to, because I actually don't think it's straightforward that it would be Nick Holtz, because Nick Holtz has never called plays before. And I don't know, at least at the NFL level, I believe he did it for a year in college. He was the offensive coordinator at UNLV, I think it was. Now, I mean, maybe I don't remember. Did they have an offensive-minded coach who called plays? Maybe. I don't know. Either way, he's never done it at the NFL level. I don't care what the answer to the question is I just asked. He's probably not well equipped to do it. I don't think it's for sure it would be Nick Holtz calling plays. I think there's a good chance it would be someone else, and that might bleed into our, if they do fire him, who should be interim head coach conversation.
I think we should get into it because I think it's only a matter of time. It's inevitable. Brian Callahan will be fired. It is inevitable. I don't know if it's going to happen this week. I don't think so. The fact that they let him speak on Monday is not necessarily a for sure thing, because it could definitely happen on Tuesday. If it doesn't happen on Tuesday, it's not happening this week, which would mean it'll be at least after the Houston game, which is the Titans' next opponent, or it'll be after this 3-game road trip. Maybe they don't want to mess up the rhythm of a 3-game road trip. Now, they're not going to be out for 3 straight weeks. They're going to come back after each game. So maybe they could still do it after this game. But it is a 3-game road trip coming up. Then week 7 is the Patriots game. I mean, if Mike Vrabel comes in and embarrasses the Titans at home, the former head coach, we all know Amy Adams-Strunk has a penchant for having an emotional reaction to moments like that. And at this rate, I mean, the Patriots don't look good either, by the way. I mean, let's if the Patriots come in and stomp the Titans in week 7, that's a really bad sign, because the Patriots have been struggling themselves.
Yeah, they're not good either.
They've been doing they've had the same issues the Titans have had. Penalties, turnovers, lack of discipline, all that stuff. Ramondre Stevenson fumbling twice in one game, like Antonio Gibson then coming in to replace him and also fumbling. Like, they're beating themselves too. So if they come into Nashville, like, that's a prime spot. If it doesn't happen after week 7, the next opportunity would probably be the bye week, because at least you have extra time to like rejiggle everyone's roles and everything. And then if it's not then, it's January, Black Monday, as they call it, New Horizons Monday, as we call it on Heed the Call, because that would be like, I would hate if they leave Callahan in this position the whole season just to fire him the day after the season ends. Like, you might as well, I don't know. Like I said,
I hate
what
that
benefit?
less than keeping him, though, right?
That's fair. I mean, he's definitely not getting a 3rd season. At this rate, we know that. Yeah. So why delay the inevitable? Just pull the trigger. Let someone else run the show. Like, let's just do it. And who would that be if they let someone else run the show, Justin? We talked about this very briefly on the live stream yesterday. Let's get into it in more detail. To me, there are 2 real serious candidates for consideration. I think we can rule out Bill Callahan, prior head coaching experience, but he's not going to take the job from his son. Let's be real. If Brian Callahan is dismissed, it's more than likely Bill Callahan will go with him.
And that's fine too, by the way. That's fine. I don't see a shred of improvement on the O-line.
Absolutely. Although Peter Skoronski has played well. I think that speaks a lot more to Peter Skoronski's talent than it does to anything coaching-wise when you look at what everyone else around the team, around the line is doing. Denard Wilson is like the fan base's favorite choice. I wouldn't advocate for that. I mean, he has no experience. He didn't have experience as a coordinator before last season, let alone as a head coach. And there are other people on staff who have experience as a head coach, let alone, like, that doesn't even consider the fact that everything we just talked about with Brian Callahan having too much on his plate, having to call plays while managing game situations, you want to put that on Denard Wilson? You're just setting him up to fail if you do that. At least Brian Callahan knew coming into last year, I'm the head coach who's also going to be calling plays. I am going to have time to figure out a plan for how I'm going to divide up my time and how I'm going to, where I'm going to put my energy. Not that he's done well with it, but at least he had time to figure that out. Denard Wilson, just mid-season, oh, by the way, you're the head coach now. Good luck, figure it out. Like, give me a break. That would be a horrible decision. It would set everyone up for failure. But there are 2 other people on this staff who have been head coaches in the NFL before, at least on an interim level, and I think it would be one of those 2 guys. I'm talking about Mike McCoy, who was hired this offseason as a senior offensive assistant. He overlapped with Brian Callahan in Denver. McCoy was the offensive coordinator at the time, and Brian Callahan was below him. I think he was just like an offensive assistant, and then maybe was he quarterback's coach at that time? I'm not sure if that was actually what Brian Callahan's role was, but they worked together there. McCoy's on staff now. McCoy was a head coach of the Chargers for 4 seasons, and the other guy is John Bones Fossil, who has one stint as an interim head coach. It actually happened to the 2016 Rams when Jeff Fisher was let go.
Yeah.
That was the year they spent the number 1 overall pick on a quarterback and then mid-season fired their head coach. John Bones Fossil literally has experience in this exact scenario. He would be a very strong candidate for consideration to become the interim head coach. Justin, I don't know if you have more points you want to make on the two of these guys. I do a little bit, but I'm going to toss it to you first.
Yeah, I don't feel like super strongly about which one gets it. I tend to lean Mike McCoy for a couple of reasons. Number one, I mean, when you're doing this, you're causing disruption, but you want to limit the disruption to an extent. And Mike McCoy, let's be honest, you and I both know, like senior offensive assistant, you are doing very little. It is such a BS title. If you promote him, now he's actually doing something, but you're not messing with the other units, right? Like Bones stays on as special teams coordinator, Denard Wilson stays on as defensive coordinator. And then you can figure out who's calling plays. Like, does Mike McCoy, because by the way, if you're firing Brian Callahan, you're probably firing Nick Holtz as well. Like, he's a Callahan family friend disciple. Like, I think there's a good chance that you're firing Nick Holtz. He's almost Bill Callahan territory. I know they're not related, but they might as well be.
The only thing I'll say on that is that Brian Callahan would not want Nick Holtz to also fall on the sword with him if he can continue being employed doing his job. So that would be
I think
right. That would be an upper management decision that I don't know. I mean, is that common for a play calling head coach to also the offensive coordinator also gets fired if that guy gets dismissed mid-season? I don't actually know the answer to that.
Yeah, I guess we'd see, but I think there's a chance he'd be. And again, like I said, I don't know that he'd be a candidate to call plays anyway. I mean, maybe with an offensive head coach like Mike McCoy, who's done it before, overseeing him. But I think Mike McCoy's the better choice for that reason. Another thing I want to point out, but I'm very glad you mentioned something. I think you tweeted about it. One of the concerns I had about naming Bones Fossil, and I still have a little bit, but about naming Bones as interim head coach is when he inevitably gets passed over for the full-time job, because he's not head coach material. Would you lose him altogether? That's something that would strongly concern me because he is so good in his role that he's one of the very few people in the NFL period that another regime would gladly inherit and not force a change. Doesn't guarantee that they'd keep him on, but it'd be kind of dumb not to. Does that hurt his chances? Well, you pointed out in a tweet that's exactly what happened in LA, but he stayed on. Like, he got passed. I mean, I don't know. I mean, he was never a candidate, but Sean McVay took over and then kept him. And the fact that he agreed to stay despite not getting the job after a 3-game stint insinuates that it's possible. But that did concern me because I wouldn't want to lose him as the special teams coordinator.
I actually did not tweet that. I sent that to you via direct message on Twitter last night when we were discussing today's show. But no, that's absolutely a point. Just some like basic ass stats. Mike McCoy, head coach of the San Diego Chargers from 2013 to 2016. He obviously had San Diego. He also obviously had Phillip Rivers as his quarterback. That's like, a different level than a rookie. That's a veteran guy. His career record as a head coach, 28-38. Not great. A lot better than the 15% winning percentage that Brian Callahan has, but not great. 1-1 in the postseason, though. Upset the Bengals to win a playoff game. He was, at the time, the youngest active head coach in the NFL when he took over the Chargers. So he's probably learned and grown a lot since being a 28-38 record head coach. So just an interesting thing to note there. For Bones, yeah, you mentioned it. Interim head coach for the Rams for 3 games in 2016 when Jeff Fisher was fired, which again, as I said, means he has experience taking over a team that just spent the number 1 overall pick on a quarterback. That was obviously Jared Goff, who, if you'll remember, his rookie season looked like a complete bust. Sean McVay comes in the next year and takes them, a couple seasons. They go to the Super Bowl. Jared Goff maybe hits his ceiling in the McVay offense, gets traded to Detroit, and is, perennially a top 10 quarterback now. And yeah, like you mentioned, when the Rams hired Sean McVay, Bones Fossil was retained on staff as the special teams coordinator. He was 0-3 in his stint as interim head coach.
Right.
And my biggest concern with making Bones the interim head coach is that he's not coordinating special teams now, or he is, but he's also doing it in addition to being head coach. And he did it once before with LA. Again, it didn't help them in the win column at all. But he did do it once before in LA, so he has experience. Like, I like the idea of someone who's been in this exact situation before. But ultimately, I agree with you. My choice would be Mike McCoy because it allows everyone else to stay in their roles. And we see this every year. Like the Jets, who we talked about a lot on this episode now, last year when they fired Robert Saleh, Jeff Ulbrich was the defensive coordinator. The Jets' defense was actually a pretty good defense through those 5 weeks. Sure. But when Ulbrich becomes the head coach and somebody else has to jump into the defensive coordinator role, and so every position, they shuffled so many positions on that staff when Saleh was let go that they completely fell off a cliff. It's like they had nothing. Everyone was confused on what they're doing. Things are falling through the cracks. It just becomes so much harder to do the job that you've been doing when everything is suddenly changed. Again, I can't stress it, emphasize this enough. In the middle of a season when you have literally no time to think or plan, it's like you are on to the next game immediately. That's a tough situation to put anybody in. So I would go with Mike McCoy if it were up to me. I think that would be the best way. You keep Denard Wilson as defensive coordinator. You keep Bones Fossil as special teams coordinator. You either promote Bo Hardegree to offensive coordinator, or you let Nick Holtz try calling the plays if he's still on the staff. I know you've talked about Bo Hardegree as a potential play caller, and you sort of teased it and then didn't say it. Did you want to get back to that point?
I think he'd be an option, right? Like, he's quarterback's coach. He did call plays interim basis for Vegas in 2023 when they fired, I think, was it Antonio Wilson or whoever they fired? No. Sorry?
No. Who did they fire in 2020?
They have fired so many people in Vegas. It's just as they've
Josh McDaniels?
Yeah, Josh McDaniels. Yes, Josh McDaniels. That's correct. So he's done it on an interim basis, put it that way. He's called plays. So I think that's the alternative. Now, that causes a little more disruption because he's the quarterback's coach right now. So ideally, if you're promoting Mike McCoy, either he calls plays. And look, he's a veteran guy. Like, remember, there are lots of coaches who could handle being a coach and calling plays. Let's not pretend it's impossible, right? So either Mike McCoy, it's impossible for Brian Callahan, but either Mike McCoy does both, or you keep Nick Holtz in the offensive coordinator role and he calls plays, or you fire him as well and you have Bo Hardegree call plays. You've got lots of options here, but we're in alignment that I think Mike McCoy makes the most sense for an interim head coach.
Yeah, I was trying to look at Bo Hardegree as a play caller with the Raiders in 2023. I mean, that was the year that they put up 63 points on the Chargers on a random Thursday night game that nobody saw coming.
Yeah. I think he was already calling plays in that game. I'm pretty certain.
I think he was too.
Yes.
I'm having trouble doing this on the fly, and we're recording a podcast, so I'm not trying to take up a lot of time doing this right now. But anyway, so we both agree on Mike McCoy. We both agree that Bones Fossil would also be a good option if they decide to go that way, and it wouldn't shock me if they make Bones Fossil the interim head coach and Mike McCoy the offensive coordinator / play caller. Like, that's also a way to go here. That I would support. And I know there's been some chatter, like Zach has talked about this in our group chat, about how important it is to keep Bo Hardegree working directly with Cam Ward on a day-to-day basis in all the quarterback meeting rooms, not taking him out of those rooms to go do other offensive meetings and all that stuff. And I guess there's some element of that, but to me, I'm not that concerned about that element of it. I would rather Cam Ward not be working on an every minute basis with Bo Hardegree, but have the best play caller in place on game days to set Ward up to succeed.
And I think there's a scenario where you don't have to name Bo Hardegree offensive coordinator. You keep him as quarterback's coach and assign him play calling duties. That's the way to kind of toe the line where, yes, some of his time is going to be taken away, but he's still the quarterback coach, so he's still doing that. The Colts had a wide receiver coach, I think, call plays a couple last year or something. So you can do that to kind of toe that line, but neither here nor there. We'll wait. We'll see what they end up doing if they fire Brian Callahan, which I agree, it's inevitable. It's a when, not if thing. When we come back for tomorrow's episode, how about this? I want you guys to drop your comments below. Instead of doing our regular Tuesday episode, is it too premature to bring 8 or 9 coaching candidates to the table, full-time ones, and talk about potential options that they might look at next year? I don't think it is. I've already done it a little bit. Spoiler alert. I found 5 or 6 coaches with connections to the current regime that I think is at least worth discussing and mentioning. A couple of them are really intriguing to me. What do you guys say for tomorrow's episode? Drop your comments below. I'll throw it back to you. But other than that, Graver, I think we're out.
yeah, so drop those comments below. Remember to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and shout out to Sinkers Beverages, the premier wine, spirits, and beer store in East Nashville, for sponsoring this channel as well. We appreciate all you guys, and as Justin said, we'll be back tomorrow to talk through those candidates. We're also going to hit our weekly Cam Ward grade so that we keep the progress going on that, and we'll have the graph. We're probably going to skip confidence in the direction of the franchise, because I'll just tell you right now, mine's a 0. If they don't fire Brian Callahan, it's a 0. As soon as they fire Brian Callahan, confidence shoots way up. But right now, I just have lost all faith in him. And I kind of feel like the team has lost all faith in him. And I didn't want to get into this conversation, but my conspiracy theory is that Calvin Ridley, who has had issues, with his mental health in the past, had to, step away from the Falcons mid-season before he got the gambling stuff. He actually made the mistake of gambling while he was stepped away to focus on his mental health. Like, is it crazy to think that Calvin Ridley, who played for a really good Atlanta Falcons offense, knows what a well-coached team is supposed to look like and knows that this is not a well-coached team and is sort of checked out mentally, or sort of having an existential crisis about why he's putting his body on the line every week, knowing what he's going to get, and that's why he's struggling to catch the ball? Is that crazy? Am I giving him too much of an out and putting it on him playing for Brian Callahan is the reason that he has having drops issues? Maybe. I don't want to get into this right now, Justin, so you don't even have to respond. Let me know if I'm crazy in the comments. I know I am. But that'll do it for this one. So thanks to everyone. Did you have a final word, Justin? Or you can just sign us off if not.
Y'all stay safe out there and tighten up.
Tighten down.
Tighten up.
Tighten down. Tighten down.
Tighten up.
A Broadway sports media production.